Absolutely. The Washington Wizards, Anshu Khanna, have been a mess, but Isaiah Thomas is now healthy again and putting up solid numbers while starting for a team, even if it is kind of on a minutes limit. Is Isaiah back, or is this just a bad player putting up good stats on a bad team?
Oh man, I think you pretty much nailed it there at the end. A bad player. Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect place for a guy like him to get fat on some counting stats. I mean, the league doesn't value those quite as much as they used to, but to your point, I mean, if you're scoring, double figures per game and he has the history that he does, maybe he slowly rebuilds his stock to the point where they can actually trade him. Uh, I mean, I think that he's still a useful like bench player on a playoff team. I just, he barely could scratch the court last year, and this is probably the worst team in basketball, so it's pretty tough to make too much of this performance so far.
So Bradley Beal just signed his extension a couple of weeks ago to remain with the Washington Wizards for another couple of years, averaging 26.1 points and 6.5 assists for this team. Do you think eventually this turns around, his attitude changes, and he asks for a trade rather than being mired in mediocrity for the next couple of seasons?
Oh man, that's a huge question because when you look across the landscape of the league, I mean, there are very few players that are in the position that Beal is. Like when we talk about deals, I think both of us probably immediately jump to either Love or probably Bradley Beal as far as like the
Mm-hmm.
best long-term trade asset. And so, the new front office seems totally committed to him, but at the same time is a wiser front office. So maybe there's something out there. But I've been surprised at NBA trades before where I think I'm mostly blown away by the return in a negative way. Like I mean, I thought
Yeah.
that Paul George would get more, and there were other guys, Kawhi, maybe but he only had 1 year, but yeah, like I mean, trading for Beal to me it would be almost unprecedented given the amount of years left. I mean, I think you'd have to look at the Paul George trade as a precursor, the last
Yeah,
Paul
I mean,
George
Boogie.
trade.
Look at Boogie Cousins when he was healthy
Hmm.
in Sacramento, averaging like 25 and 15 or something crazy like that, shooting almost 40% from three on a lot of attempts, and he goes for a package headlined by a 38-year-old Buddy Hield.
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, and Buddy Hield has been a little bit of a surprise, I would say. But at the time, when you think of the stock of what Hield was, like, yeah, I mean, and you could blame that on a bad front office, but the reality is, like, these spots have been. We haven't seen like the haymaker offer where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that's how much they gave up, except for that Davis George package deal, I think.
Yeah. Well, that
You
was
know?
that was the question I was going to ask you. When's the last time? And I'm not going to count sign-in trades here because bizarrely sign-in trades have yielded fairly decent returns,
Hmm.
which seems counterintuitive. Golden State gets D'Angelo Russell coming off of an All-Star season, and Philadelphia gets Josh Richardson for Jimmy Butler. But when's the last time a regular trade has happened for a superstar level player and the return has been what you expected it to be? At
No,
least even in hindsight.
the only one is the Davis George one. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
just can't think of one otherwise. I like even look, even Paul George the first time when he goes for Oladipo, yeah, hindsight is 2020, and now Oladipo, even with the injury, looks like a really nice find. But Indiana admitted that he exceeded all their expectations. So,
Hmm.
it's and again that was not a sign and trade, but it was kind of an expiring, wasn't it? Like, I mean, he had I think a year and a half left. So. Um, yeah, I really can't think of one. Like, I mean, and a lot of times there are contracts built into this, so they kind of explain that as part of the reason. And yeah, like it just doesn't happen. So to bring it full circle, like I don't see Beal getting moved unless it's some kind of insane amount that we haven't seen.
Yeah, we're seeing this in baseball right now too, with the Mookie Betts situation. Rumors coming out that teams aren't willing to give up numerous elite prospects for Betts, knowing that they're going to have to pay him as well. Seems
Yeah,
crazy to me. Seems crazy. Mookie Betts is so good. Give me Mookie Betts.
Betts and Lindor both. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a perfect yeah, it's like a perfect parallel. Like those two guys, and they actually have 2 years left, 2 full years of top 10 players, top seven bats probably in their prime, and neither team can get something that they want for them. I mean, that's crazy to me.